Hey there, welcome to Authentically Raw. I'm your host, Jamie Berris. Authentically real and raw moment coming up. The weeks leading up to the launch of this podcast, I was a wreck. I was so full of anxiety. My inner critic was not just speaking to me, she was screaming at me. I was full of self-doubt. My perfectionism was on overdrive, to say the least. I thought, what did I get myself into? At the same time, I was thinking, I can do this. I want to do this. I was thinking, I didn't have it in me. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not qualified to do this. Who do I think I am to speak out into the world? And at the same time, I thought, oh my gosh, humble yourself. You're just throwing stuff out there, being creative. Speaking, it's just talking with your mouth, right? All these things, it's silly what goes through our mind. But I was having a hard time with it. And I called up a friend, Missy Brophy. She's also a licensed therapist. Best sort of friends to keep in your pocket. So exactly 1 week ago, a couple days right before the launch, I called her up and I launched it on her. She agreed to come over and have a conversation on the couch where we just hit record. I said, this is probably something that our listeners will relate to. No, not that everybody's starting a podcast, but big stuff when it comes up to the moment right before how we freeze. I was paralyzed and all those fears were so present and I couldn't stand it. I needed to work through them. And I said, hey, let's hit record if you're willing on this conversation. Maybe we'll use it. Maybe I'll delete it. I don't know. And we hit record. I listened to it a couple times and thought, let's do it. Let's go for it. Let's throw it out there. So that is what you are about to listen to. This is my pre-launch meltdown with Therapist Missy Brophy. Enjoy. I am a ball of anxiety. My stomach's in knots. I'm freezing. I'm paralyzing. I feel like I can't write. I can't hit record and even speak the things I want to speak. So I've been diving into this. Like, what is going on? I've thought about doing a podcast for 2 years. It's been sitting on me so heavy. Bit the bullet, dove in and was gung-ho all the way. And the closer that the launch date came, the more I'm freaking out. And I don't like this feeling because this is something that I embarked on because for so many reasons. Because number one, I love just deep conversations about stuff, different words, different topics. I love self-development. Why not just go through life being fulfilled and going after the things you want and filling your life with love and connection. I just dig that stuff. And I like that with people. I like more meaningful, deeper connections. I love conversations. I love listening to audiobooks and podcasts myself that deal with that. And I just kept thinking, I would love to do this. I want to talk to somebody about this topic. And I wonder if people would listen to it, if they would resonate and they would think, me too, and it would help them. And because there's been so many things that have helped me over the years, whether it's just, been a podcast, an audiobook, whether it's been therapy or courses. And I love to share things that help me. So easy peasy, right? Just go ahead, hit record and do that. It's fun. And this is fun. This is awesome for me right now. And here it is a couple days before, the big launch, and this whole week I'm struggling. I've spent, hours and hours just hitting record and deleting and then telling myself, it's your perfectionism that's kicking in. And I know all these things. I know what's happening, but yet I'm continually, I was just continuing to spiral down. And it just really sucks. I don't want to feel this way, but sometimes we get there and it's the how. How do I get out? And I think number one, talking about it is huge because I could feel shame rising up. And I know from reading gazillions of books and talking to people how shame just thrives in keeping silent. And as soon as this is kind of almost, I'm pretty sure, a Brene Brown wording. I don't want to say quote, but words that have stuck in my head is shame just, it thrives in the dark. And talking about it and shedding the light on it is a good way to release it. But the things going through my head this week, Missy, are, what are you thinking? Why are you doing this? Who really gives you the right or the platform to speak? Where is this coming from? Why do you want to do this? What for? No one's making you. It's not like someone hired you to do this and they're having you do this. I basically embarked on this myself. And who really cares? Who's going to listen? Self-promotion is extremely hard for me. And I keep telling myself, I'm not promoting me. I'm promoting everything that has helped me because I love helping people. So what I'm saying, those are a few of the things. I'm going to probably stop there before I unpack too much. But I think that the way I've been talking back to myself is, so how do I get back there? How do I get back to, I know why I started this. I know what my mission is. I know what I'm passionate about. I'm really passionate about developing the most important relationship, and that is the relationship that we have with ourselves. And the more disconnected and distant we are from ourselves, the more we spiral down. And I know that. I know that's what's been happening the last couple weeks. And it's just sometimes super hard to get back in your own groove. So with all that said, yeah, what do you have to say to me? That's a lot.
No, but I think first and foremost, when things are important to us and when there are things that we really are pouring our heart into that matter, we want to do it well. We want to do it perfect. That's kind of like an extension of ourselves and what we want to be out there to represent us. So of course it's going to bring up a lot of feelings a lot of feelings in general. And like, even when you talk about, like when you were talking about shame, that's the one that stuck with me. Cause I don't know if you know this, but shame is, I always use the terminology. It's like a manufactured feeling. Shame isn't like one of those feelings that comes naturally. Like when a baby is born, there's happy and there's sad and there's tired and there's hungry. Those are all the kind of core feelings. Shame is manufactured. It comes from being in a situation, and the way you think about it is what brings on the shame. It's not necessarily the situation. It's the way that you're thinking about it in relation to yourself. So, when you're hyper focused on something and wanting to do something right, of course, all those kind of feelings are going to come up, but really having that awareness of what are you thinking? What is it? What's going on in your head that's bringing up all of these feelings? Because that's what's at the core of everything. So if you can, when you're completely stressed out around this, you still have everything else in life going on. You still have kids. You still have a husband. You still have a life. Mm-hmm. And there's this too. I think finding a way to bring yourself down, being more grounded, being more mindful, so that you're just functioning at a more relaxed level, because you have all of this extra stress coming your way. Of course it's gonna bring up feelings. Mm-hmm. But when in your core it's something you want to do, it's something that's important to you, so you just want to power through.
Mm-hmm. And one thing that always sticks out to me is, I don't even know where I picked this up over the past few years, but it's really helped me a lot, is just understanding shame, number one, because I didn't realize how much shame is really thwarted around everywhere, but how much my life was riddled with shame, because I just wasn't aware of that's what it was. And as soon as I uncovered it and really studied shame for what it was, I could see where it came from. Like you said, you're not born with it. So that awareness really helped, knowing, okay, this is where it's coming at me. I have a choice now to absorb it or not. But once, before I knew what it was, a lot of it was absorbed. And I do ask myself now, whose shame is it? And 9 times out of 10, within 1 second, I can pinpoint, it's that person's shame.
Yep.
And this is where it's those words are echoing that they said 12 years ago or yesterday or whatever. It's theirs. Yep. And it was spoken to me, and now I've decided to make it my own. And I know that. I'm completely aware of it, which is huge, and it's helped me. Oh my gosh, like you wouldn't believe. And I have another friend that her famous little saying is, it's theirs, it's yours. So I will say in my head, whose shame is it? And then I will be like, it's yours. It's theirs. Keep it there. It is not mine. It is theirs. Keep it there. It helps a lot. But then there's times it's still there.
It's still there because whatever you hear growing up from the adults around you becomes that little voice in your head when you're an adult. Mm-hmm. And so so it's like you said, it's there even when it might not be true or accurate or reality. It's still there. Mm-hmm. So there's still the battle going on.
Mm-hmm. And one thing too is how tied perfectionism and shame are to each other. And I started to look at my life, and the perfectionism is me shaming myself all day. And I feel that having that in me without even knowing it, you say that about, growing up with things. And there's no one in this world that escapes growing up without being, messed up in some way. I mean, I've messed up my kids already. Lord knows that. But I even, shame, I don't think people don't even understand what it is. And I feel like the best of parents, the best of people, the best of friends, whatever, with really good intentions, we shame each other all the time without even knowing. And until we're aware of it, it's just like this. I always think of it like a project and absorb.
Well, and the more I think that the more you've experienced shame throughout your life, the more things that are said to you that you put that spin on. Because I think that there's even times that nobody is meaning, whether this is you or anyone, nobody is might be necessarily meaning to make you feel that shame, but because of your internal dialogue,
that's how I twist up my
that
head.
Way. Right. I mean, because it's like I always think of like I have a picture of an iceberg, and you look at the top, and if you look at the top, which is just the little part that you can see out of the water, and that's shame, you look underneath, there's so much beyond the shame or what's contributing to the shame. That's just what's kind of showing it and how you're identifying it. But like you said, there's underneath, whether it's stemming from perfectionism, whether it's stemming from feeling like no matter, whatever you're doing isn't enough or isn't right. That's all that stuff that's underneath it, but it becomes shame.
And, you just saying it isn't enough. I think that is, like how you said, like it is true. Like that's how you interpret things or twist it in your head. Some people directly shame other people. There's no doubt about that. We all know
for
that.
Sure.
But
Sitting
then
in
there's
the corner with a dunce cap.
Exactly.
Back in the day, that kind of thing.
Heck yeah. But I think so often too, it's our internal dialogue or our mindset. We twist it into shaming ourselves in our head. But I feel that I'm not enough. I didn't even there's so many things in the last couple of years that I unpacked. I've always felt like I'm just that happy-go-lucky and empowering person. Like I got it all confident-wise. I'm secure in myself. And then, there's just things that started popping up. And I realized, just with life circumstances and feeling almost a state of just riddled with shame, and a lot of it was that not enough. I'm never enough. I can't do this enough. I can't spend enough, even if it was with my kids. I'm never spending enough time. I'm never giving them the right amount of attention, or I'm not doing this for my family, or this for my friends, or that not enough. Shame and perfectionism are, I don't even want to, it's like a menage a trois. No. Why did I just say that?
Because it's you.
Totally.
No, but it like when you speak of that, it's all so combined together. And then you look at the opposite end of the spectrum is when you have that confidence and that self-esteem and the being, as okay with yourself as you can be. Because again, I bring it back to there's times that you can have two people sitting on the couch and somebody can say the exact same thing to both of them, and someone who has that history of feeling shame versus someone who has a history of being overconfident are each going to hear that message completely different. And it's because of, how they're absorbing it, what they're thinking about it, what feelings it's eliciting. And it can be the exact same situation.
Yeah. You said overconfident, and it just kind of made me think about how there are so many masks of shame. And I think there's a healthy confidence, which to me, confidence is quiet. Confidence isn't loud. If you have to go around and, shout from the rooftops how confident you are, you're really not. And that is a mask of shame. To me.
It's the not feeling good. Oh, for sure.
Is that,
and I guess when I used the word overconfident, I should have used the word completely, just
right.
Confident versus, we all know those people that when you're out in a social situation, they're over the top. They're right. That kind of thing. And and a lot of times you look at that person, you're like, oh, inside they're just a scared little boy.
Right.
Or they're, they're trying to overcompensate.
Yeah. See, you, I think, definitely as a therapist can see that. But a lot of people can't. And then they compare themselves to that, though. Why can't I be more out there? Why can't I? And that's a whole nother shame. I'm not enough.
That's a good point.
I mean, it messes, but again, it goes in your mind because, and I'm going to use this for an example, like this podcast group that I signed up for, or course, there was like 500 of us to start. And a few dwindled off or whatever. But I've noticed on the calls, towards the end of it, there's maybe 150, 200 people, which is, I'm sure a lot of them are still doing their podcast and everybody can make the calls and things like that. And we all want to support each other. So we're all launching and we're downloading each other's podcasts and we're rating and we're reviewing and this and that. And I had to really kind of pull back in the last week or two because it started messing with me again. Also, because I want to support these people. This is who I am. Your win is my win. I am that person through and through. I love doing it. I love working one-on-one people. Like, how can I empower you? Like, what's going on? Let's go. So here I'm going through this with all these other people, and I'm seeing how out there they are on social media. They're blasting emails out. They're doing this. They're doing that. All of a sudden, this I'm not enough.
Yeah. Comparing yourself to other people, you're never gonna measure up. When you're comparing yourself to somebody else and knocking yourself down,
it's shaming myself.
You're beating yourself up, basing what you're seeing as the best way to be just on what you're looking at. When in reality, the way that you're doing it, might be that way.
And the thing is too is, and I will do this when I sit down and coach myself. I use this, it's like an ask method. So my A is awareness. So I was very aware these past couple of weeks. I'm feeling anxiety. I feel like I'm not enough. My perfectionism is kicking in. And it's like, it almost becomes like a self-worth thing. So I would go, okay, I have all this going on. And then what am I going to do with it? How am I going to get myself out? Because this happens to everybody. It's not like, oh, you're gonna go through therapy or you're gonna do this, you're gonna be hypnotized, you're gonna do all this stuff, you're gonna be coached, and then you'll never feel it again. You will. The whole thing is I don't want to stay stuck here.
Right. You want to be aware of it. You want to notice it, and then you want to be able to move forward and not get stuck in it. Because once you're stuck in it, then everything else becomes muddled with it.
Right. And you can't even think straight, or you get paralyzed, or you project it out sideways. Anybody that walks in the door from your home or whatever, you're taking it out on them. And it's all this internal stuff, which again, it does make me go back to that whole relationship with yourself. And I feel that developing, and I know this, and I know that really that's that self-love, which people are like, what is that? How do I love myself? But I think this is one of the things. It is having safe people, that you can trust to say, this is what's going on in my life. Here's how it's making me feel. Sitting there listening, and not one time did you tell me, well, you should just go do this. We'll just go do that. Or, well, don't feel that way. Oh, it'll be fine, Jamie. Everything will be just fine. Because then you feel invalidated, or then you feel on the defense.
When someone says, oh, it always works out in the end. Don't worry about it. It's like, well, actually.
It doesn't always. And that's okay, because there's a lot of things to learn from that too. I know that when you resolve the problems on the inside, most of those outside things, they fall away. And so thank you for a little MASH therapy session to ground me again. And I can't wait to do a few more of these. Thank you so much for being here as we kick off this podcast together. I really appreciate you joining me on this journey, because I'm well aware you could be doing or listening to anything right now. Hey, if you enjoy the authentically raw content, please support the show by following, rating, and reviewing on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. You can also follow me on social media for daily inspiration. Head over to my website, jamieberris.com, to sign up for weekly transformation tips. Or if you're interested in coaching, I currently have 3 openings for one-on-one coaching. If you're looking for an empowering community, we'd love for you to join us in the Transformation Tribe, our group coaching membership. More info available on my website under the Life Coaching and Membership tabs. One last thing, I'm rooting for you. Be real, be raw, be authentic.